Hello, I am Jim Quancy, Senior Director, Developer Advocacy and Support at Autodesk. And I'd like to welcome you to Developer Days 2022, where I'm going to give you a bit of an introduction, kind of big picture, where we've been, where we're going, bit of a technology roadmap, which will hopefully be a great introduction for you to attend the following Dev Days classes that make sense for you. Autodesk DevDays 2022, from tools to digital transformation, from files to data. Those are our themes, and these are not new themes, they're actually quite old themes. And I know many of you are coming from the tool side, building plugins for various Autodesk platforms like AutoCAD, like Revit, like Inventor, like Fusion, like Max, like Maya, like Civil 3D, and so on. And some of you are also coming from the cloud side, integrations with Fusion 360, BIM 360, Autodesk Construction Cloud, or using the Autodesk Forge APIs in their raw form. And we're going to talk about how they all fit together and kind of where they are going. But first, recognize that what I tell you may change. In fact, I can guarantee some of it will change. Some of these things are not that predictable. I will be as clear as I can on what we're doing moving forward so you can make better decisions. So you can decide where to invest near term, where to wait, where to invest long term, where the opportunities are to grow your business or to grow the business, the company that you work for. So again, just recognize we're making forward-looking statements and these things can change. And I'll be quiet for a few seconds so you can read some of this. Okay, where we have been, where Autodesk has been, where many of you have been customers and partners. You know, a provider of tools and products. Many of you have been adding value to Autodesk tools and products. A vendor selling tools to our customers. A lot of focus on the design and engineering side in comparison to make, whether that's manufacturing or construction. Typically, our tools and a lot of your tools are expenses, and that's how the customer views it, an expense they have to pay, something that impacts their bottom line. And typically, on the design tool side, growth is modest. You know, if it's 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10%, that's doing well. Very different than what's happening on the cloud side. And that is where we were going. Where we're going, where Autodesk is going. I know many of you are going with us already, and I'm going to encourage you to come with us, all of you who have been holding off. About enterprise solutions. That valuable design and engineering data being built and maintained with Autodesk desktops is valuable to the whole enterprise. Can help our joint customers improve that, not just their bottom line, but their top line, help them grow their businesses. It's about being a trusted advisor for our customers. It's about engaging with IT, with the CIO, with the CTO, not just with the design and engineering departments. Again, it's helping customers improve the top and bottom line, both be more profitable and grow the business. And that's a way to high growth, double-digit growth. Now, to be clear, this is not about one or the other. This is not about where we have been going away and replaced by where we are going. It's about both and how they play together, because there's no question a lot of that valuable design and engineering data is created and maintained with desktops. And that is very important. That is not changing tomorrow. But the rest of the enterprise that has no access to a CAD desktop, Revit, Inventor, Fusion, Civil 3D, Max, Maya, AutoCAD, those folks can get great value from all that design and engineering information, scheduling, costing, planning, coordinating with people, with teams, your customers' customers. So it's about bringing that data to the surface, making that design and engineering data really enterprise data. And you know, that's what the improvements you will see and what I will be talking about in this session is really all about. It's really helping customers use design and engineering data for competitive advantage and to maximize growth and maximize their profitability. Now, and something I will come back to. So Autodesk is building out these platforms. In fact, it says here Autodesk Forge, but I really encourage people to start thinking of it as the Autodesk platform, of which Forge is the underpinning API that spans all the industries Autodesk does business in, and that delivers you cloud-based tools to expand your business. But you look here, media and entertainment, it's not just Forge. Yeah, there's cloud-based ShotGrid, but it's also Max and Maya, where a lot of the data is created. And on the AEC side, same thing, right? It's about, BIM 360, Autodesk Construction Cloud, Autodesk Docs, but it's also about Revit, Navisworks, Civil 3D, and so on, as is true in design and manufacturing. So whether it's Inventor, Fusion, one of our CAM products, working along with cloud-based Fusion, again, all of these platforms underpinned by Autodesk Forge, allowing you to engage at the desktop, on a server, on the cloud, to make this valuable design and make data available to all the people within your customer and their customer's customer, to flow data for faster, better decision-making. And better, faster decision-making means less mistakes, increased safety. It means more profitability. It means giving your customers the ability to delight their customers with the ability for the customers to see what's happening, creating transparency that customers are not used to, because your customers, they don't have a CAD desktop. They may not have a license to one of the Autodesk products, but they need that data to be more effective, to help their business to be more successful. Okay, this is an old slide. What are people doing with the Autodesk platforms? Data visualization, dashboards, still the lead thing that people do with Autodesk platforms once you get beyond the desktop. Digital twins, all that great digital twin information created on the desktop, but then need to be shared through dashboards, through pipelines of near real-time data coming from AWS, Azure, Google Cloud, whoever your favorite IoT digital twins provider is. Pipelines for AR, VR, SaaS integration, whether that's ERP, CRM, or BIM 360 Autodesk Construction Cloud, parts catalogs, configurators and design automation, which very much are about reducing time for designs to get done, whether that's somebody internal to a customer, saving lots of hours in design work, or whether it's enabling your customer to give their customer a delightful, easy configurator experience that dramatically speeds up time from design exploration, looking at your customer's products, to actually placing an order and it's shipping, that data going direct data form, not files, not drawings, to the shop floor or to the fabrication area in preparation for going out to a construction site. And with that, kind of the last item, which is more newish this last 2 years, is around prefabrication. There's a lot going on in the area of taking design data, whether that's kind of Revit data, other kinds of BIM data, Inventor, Fusion data, and feeding that down to the shop floor where more work can be done in a safe, lower cost, more productive, controlled environment of a shop, of a factory, rather than having things done out in the field, which are much more expensive and much more error and mistake prone and unpredictable from the amount of time it takes to get things done. Okay, so now we're going to jump into some cloud updates. Some of this will be familiar for those of you who attended the Autodesk Forge roadmap as part of Autodesk University a few months back. But I have made a number of updates because things are moving along. So for those of you who are wondering on how we are progressing, You'll see some real nuggets here on what's moved ahead, and in a few cases, what hasn't moved ahead yet. So you can plan ahead, so you can decide when to schedule resources to work on some of these new technologies. Data centers. We've talked for maybe 2 years now about increasing the number of data centers in various parts of the world, places like Germany, Japan, Singapore, and so on. We did take a pivot to doing FedRAMP first. Our sales team, the Autodesk sales team, was quite clear that we have a lot of big customers doing government work who want help, who want to use BIM 360 in the Autodesk Construction Cloud in a more secure government environment, and that means FedRAMP support. So we did a bit of a pivot, making it possible for us later this year to have Forge, BIM 360, and more up on FedRAMP. So for some of you, that'll be good to hear because you have government customers who've been asking. For some of you, I just want to encourage you, I just want to make it clear, we are going to do more data centers in other parts of the world. That is going to come. And frankly, it will come more quickly and easier because of the work we've done to support FedRAMP, the plumbing we've had to do, the repackaging of our services, and our machine images that we've had to do in order to keep more data centers up to date in a very efficient, reliable, and secure way. Latest updates on the viewer, which is the #1 use of Forge today, is people using model derivative and the Forge viewer to give information, again, to people who don't have a desktop, but need to make decisions, need to get at both the visualization for context and the data. So recent updates, and this is a few months back now, we came out with the data visualization extension to the Forge viewer, IoT development kit, heat maps, things you could do 2 or 3 years ago, but it was kind of hard. Sprite viewables, Azure IoT reference. What else? Native viewing for GLTF and DWF files, as we've done with PDF files. So you don't have to go through the translation service. You can use the viewer directly to feed these files to the viewer. The other thing, for those of you who've been watching closely, as we've upgraded the file type, the file structure of what the Forge viewer uses from SVF to SVF2. It's generally available. It's being used almost everywhere at Autodesk today. We have a number of partners using it. It's all about speed, speed, and speed. It's about being able to get access to the viewables and the metadata for the very largest AEC models. I will tell you, we got a little bit more work to do with SVF2, and specifically when it comes to supporting disconnected workflows, which we had several examples on how you go do that with SVF. We still got a little bit more work to do to get that out on SVF2. Know that it is coming, and you want it, we know you want it, and we need it ourselves for our own services that we're delivering to customers. What else is coming? Data visualization extension, we're not done. There's a few things we had to left over. People wanted streamlines, easy streamlines, working on that. Updated 3JS. Those of you who use the viewer may have some point used the underlying 3JS, which for the viewer has been at release 0.71. And that 0.71 release, I don't know, is it 5 years old or 6 years old? It's aging. And the open source community for 3JS has built a lot more capability and connectors for 3JS. So Autodesk has recognized we need to leverage the open source community, not resist it, but embrace it. So you should know we are actively working on updating the Forge viewer to support near the latest version of 3JS. And last time I looked, maybe it was 1.31, 1.32. We'll see in the next few months, so very soon now, we will release a new version of the viewer that supports a very new version of 3JS with the plans, the infrastructure, the tooling in place for us to stay up to date. Now, we won't always be up to date to the latest version of 3JS that came out this month. There will be a couple of month kind of lag time from our support for new versions of 3JS. But I know those of you who use 3JS, hopefully this will really kind of liberate your creativity to leverage a lot of the great plugins, a lot of the great additions, extensions to 3JS. What else are we working on? Power BI extension. We actually have this in the hands of a handful of partners today in private beta. It is absolutely coming, going to make it very easy to embed the viewer in a Power BI dashboard. So you can use Power BI not just for graphs and tables, but have the context of a model for filtering, for understanding what the data is about. What else? USD, USDZ support. We hear from people, they want better visual quality, and we will get that with USD, USDZ. I will say this is a longer term thing. It's not going to happen tomorrow, but I want to make sure you understand that is on our to-do list, including a USD web-based renderer for higher quality rendering than you see today. Now, will I say it's photorealistic? No, I think that'll set too high expectations. But I think for a lot of use cases, if you're good, this takes a bit of being artistic and using the right materials in the right way. I think for a lot of use cases, it will be good enough. Customers will go, yeah, that is good enough. That looks real. And with that, we're going to run a little video here just to make the point about Power BI and that this is not ghostware, we're not, or vaporware, we're just not talking. And you're going to see here in this video how we have a connector that feeds information between the data with the SVF2 file, the visualization in the SVF file, and connecting that and make that accessible to Power BI. So you can use Power BI for grabbing the data, linking data, filtering data, and then within a Power BI dashboard, making that data available in the context of a model. First floor, second floor, third floor, structural, MEP. Now you've been able to do this today, but it takes a full stack web programmer to really kind of pull that off. So this is very much about enabling the person, the people at your organization or your customer's organization who have Power BI skills, have basic database understanding, but they're not developers and they don't want to be developers. So it'll be much, much easier for customers, for users to kind of tailor their Power BI dashboards to give them and to give other people in their organization exactly what they want. And with that, I'm going to be quiet and I'll let you watch this for a bit. Don't you love this little wizard? How to configure the Ford Viewer visual. And this is happening inside of the Power BI desktop. Grab your token, right? You'll need a Forge license that you would give out to your Power BI experts, power users, so they can take advantage of Forge. And you can see that external ID like you typically have in a Revit model. And you could see Power BI at use, giving a pie chart view of the data in the model, allowing for quick and easy filtering. And with the visual feedback that is also powerful. Show me the doors, show me planting, show me windows. Easy. What else with the viewer? Addressing pain points. With model derivative in the viewer, we've been told again and again, not fast enough for large Revit models. People come with 500 megabyte, gigabyte models, and sometimes the translation fails. Not too often, but it does happen with large models. And it's just slow, and it's too slow. So it's interesting. This slide comes from Autodesk University. We talked about the upcoming Revit 2023 translation worker, which is what is on the model derivative services, creating those SVF2 files for Revit. Well, what happened is we decided we can't wait. There is too much demand. Too many people want these improvements. There's you building your own applications. Example, a Power BI example. There's our customers using BIM 360 in the Autodesk Construction Cloud. There's desktop sharing that happens with our desktops. We needed to do better. So we got our teams together over these last 3 months, and we looked really hard at this. And we dramatically have reduced the time it takes for a Revit translation to happen, for you to get at the graphics and for you to get at the metadata that's in a very large Revit model. And we are talking gigabyte-sized models where the publish time, the time for you to get the data, was in the area of 8 hours. And we've got it down to 10 minutes. And I'll tell you, there was a lot to this. One of this had to do with spikes that we started planning for. There were a lot of spikes in the use of a model derivative on Fridays. Maybe that's no surprise, because a lot of customers using BIM 360 and Autodesk Construction Cloud publish their workshed models all at the same time on a Friday. So we worked on getting more servers available, and these tended to be the biggest models, so more big servers available, dramatically reducing queue time. Then we made improvements in the Revit extractor, reducing memory footprints, dramatically increasing the speed of an SVF file, an SVF2 file being created from Revit. And really, there were these very large models, especially in the MEP area, that we had problems from time to time. And most of that has gone away. Now, if you're a user today of BIM 360 or Autodesk Construction Cloud, you've probably seen this already. If you've been using Forge for a while now, using model derivative with Revit models, you probably noticed the improvements. And hopefully this is just giving you some insight when you go, what happened? It got a lot better. Okay, what else? We also have improvements in property data extraction, making things faster response time to querying. You know, this is very much about querying on the server versus you having to get all that information downloaded locally onto your server, dumping in a database. So you can do much better at querying, much faster, much easier. And you'll see, because a little later in this presentation, I'll talk about something called an improvement, a new model properties API that has just been released for BIM 360 and the Autodesk Construction Cloud that really leverages these enhancements in the model derivative service. So I'm going to move to design automation. Design automation being the service that has CAD engines on the cloud: AutoCAD, Revit, Inventor, Civil 3D, 3ds Max, right? So all engines, we've done optimization on queue scaling and creating multiple queues. And those of you familiar with working with cloud, whether it's AWS, Azure, Google, you know, auto scaling and how fast, and having servers that are hibernated that can come up faster than having to start a servers up from scratch. So we've really worked on improving queue management for that better performance. Now, I'll tell you, you need to give us feedback. Is it working? Is it good enough? And I ask that with trepidation, because, you know, with speed, it's never good enough. But, you know, tell us where the most pain is. Give feedback to us. I'm happy to hear from you. And our engineering team really wants to hear, you know, where the most pain points are, where where the biggest needs are for improvement. The other thing has to do with enabling REST and HTTP requests during execution, evaluating WebSockets. A lot of this is you being able to know how your job is doing and not having the poll. Poll is not good for you, and it's not good for us. You know, polling, if kind of mishandled by a simple accident, by somebody not being careful, and, you know, we're all human, we make mistakes. We can end up with, and we've seen applications that poll hundreds of times a minute. And it's kind of like a denial of service attack, and us having to reach out to some of you to say, hey, you kind of got this wrong and you need to fix this. So we're looking for the better answer, which we all know is WebSockets. Okay, Revit design automation, PDF generation is something we added. Cloud work sharing. This is in private beta today. We've been talking about it for 2 years as a top level item. We've actually got this in the hands of a number of customers. Being able to have design automation kind of like a bot. As a member of the design team working on a cloud work shared model, where there may be 10, 20, 100 real people working on a project, and you want design automation sitting there, doing model checks, checking for misbehaving, checking model health, so you know what's going on without having to wait for that end of the week publish. And then that kind of scramble at the end of the week if things are not right. Really, again, giving you the ability to write Revit add-ins that are these powerful bots that help your team get more done easier, avoid problems. Again, other things I mentioned a little earlier having to do with queuing and instance sizes, bigger servers, more memory, faster queuing, multiple queues. So your Revit jobs being done with design automation all happen faster. And with that, I'm going to move into what's a little farther out, but maybe not that far out, because everything I've talked about so far is not very far out. It's half of what I've said is released, and half of what I've said so far is kind of on the verge. Forge data. I'm going to start with cloud information models, right? This is about taking most all the data in a design, and whether that's media and entertainment or AEC or manufacturing, is it Fusion, is it Revit, which is where we're starting, Inventor, AutoCAD, making that information available in a database. And I'll tell you, it's not one type of database. Some kinds of data is better in a graph database. Some kinds of data is better managed in a NoSQL database. So you'll see a mix. And it's also about the meshes being out there, where you can treat it as data in a database. So if you're a full stack web developer, you're an IT person who's very database fluent, but this CAD stuff, doing C# plugins for whether it's a desktop or design automation is kind of not your thing. But the idea of making a REST call to a database on the cloud, getting the data you want, that your customers need, count, schedule, cost, integrate with ERP, CRM, expose to subcontractors, expose certain data to specialty consultants you may want to work with, and doing in a way that's high performance, not having to push around what could be gigabyte, 2 gigabyte, 3 gigabyte, complete model data sets. Just run a query, get a megadata, not have to wait for a gigabyte. It's about collaboration, because then many people can work on that data at the same time. It's about control. You don't have to share a file. You can share just the data you want to share with that person you want to share it with. And it's about cost, because when you're dealing with gigabyte files, there's a real cost. And whether Autodesk pays it or you pay it, there's real cost, versus making queries on a field, on a node is cheap. And, I'm not even too sure we're going to charge people for any of that. We will, we'll see how this goes. But we're absolutely going there. And it's also very much enabling you to leverage all the work Autodesk has done around privacy, GDPR, security, things like audit trails, revision tracking, data eventing, where you don't have to do all that yourself. You can take advantage of the Autodesk provided cloud information model. Okay, now we've already done this with manufacturing. Today with Fusion 360, the Manage extension uses our cloud information model, as we call it, the product information model. Bills of materials, quantities, the actual physical and render material being used. We're doing some work to enable you to get at BREPs. We're not quite done there yet. And I will say, when it comes to these information models, you do have to look at this as a journey. Reminds me of when we did the APIs for AutoCAD, Revit, Inventor. You don't get it all at once. We give you a big chunk to start with, and then we keep adding and keep adding. And over a few years, we get most of the data that's currently locked in a binary out there where you can get at it with a simple REST-based API. And again, cloud information models, it's manufacturing's already exposed. AEC is coming fast. And we'll talk about what I call a subset of cloud information models, what at Autodesk we call Forge Exchange. And it's also coming to media and entertainment. So we will have these 3 data clouds based on common Forge infrastructure with common ways to access data that you can leverage. And you know what? For those of you who currently use model derivative to extract data, and what do you do with it? You dump it in a spreadsheet, you dump it in a database. What we want you to be able to do is, if you don't want to have to manage your own database and the security and GDPR and patches and all that stuff, you'll be able to extend these cloud information models, add your own fields, add your own tables, add your own nodes. The other thing that gets really powerful here, now I'm going to say something that's longer term. It's not going to happen right away, is the ability to write back into one of these cloud information models, which will then be synchronized and show up in the binary, in a Revit file, in an AutoCAD file, in an Inventor file. Now, this is going to take a lot of thought, whether you're a customer or an ISV, kind of what data do you want to behave that way? And what data do you want in your own database? Whether you're an ISV, a third party, where you want to manage a specific kind of customer data, or you're a customer, and that cloud at the bottom is your enterprise data model, of which you'll be able to hook in these design make related data models from Autodesk, right? Federating, linking. Frankly, today, those of you using Forge today, those of you using our desktops today, there's a lot of files getting moved around. And every time a file gets moved, there's version issues and version control hell. And who's got what version? Every time you do a translation, you know, I want IFC data, I got to do an export, which 5 minutes later can be obsolete because some Revit models changed. Wouldn't it be nice if that data's in a database? It's got webhooks, it lets you know what's changed. So maybe you want a connector to IFC and you get notified when there's a change in that Revit model or whatever. Frankly, I believe where we're going is you just get at your data. And for most of the world, don't need to know what these files are. Nobody wants to know what a file is in Salesforce.com, in Microsoft Dynamics, in Oracle and SAP. It's just data. And for most of the enterprise, it's data. Though, that said, if you're on the design side, yeah, you know, files, as we know, in binaries aren't going away anytime soon. There's all kinds of legal process reasons we still have those snapshots in the sort, but you know, clearly that's an inferior way to manage design and to be light and nimble and quick. Okay, so I hope you get that. The move to cloud information models, increased performance, easy collaboration, better fine-grained control, granular control, who gets access, who gets read-only, who gets write, who gets to see and edit what. And cost, because you know, granular small bits of data are so cheap to deal with in terms of grabbing it, moving it, and so fast. There's absolutely, there'll be a cost savings that we will all see, not having to grind through these multi-gigabyte models on a too frequent basis. With that, we'll talk a bit about Exchange. And I want you to view Exchange. It's a limited version of a cloud information model. It's, to a significant degree, easier to deal with. If you're not an IT person, you're not a developer, Exchange is something that you can use without having those web development skills. Though I think even people with web development skills will want to leverage Exchange because it's kind of an easy entree into developing this kind of data-centric design and build world we're going to. And with that, let me play this video. And note, we are inside Revit. We are going to a view. And we're using this view in Revit as a filter to decide what model information, what entity information, what parameter information I want to put up in a database on the cloud. I want to put up in an Exchange database. And once I share it, I now have this synchronization between that Revit model and the database. When the Revit model changes and there's a save, the database changes. And again, longer term, not in the first few months, we'll get there, that ability for changes in the database on the cloud, if you give permission to actually write back into the Revit files. And here we go, where we are, dredging through the data in that view, that Revit view that was used as a filter, which we know many customers use today. Now, I will tell you, in the short term, these Exchange databases are being stored in BIM 360, Autodesk Construction Cloud. We are heading in a direction where it will not be just a BIM 360 Autodesk Construction Cloud. There'll be direct Revit to Exchange connectors. And this whole connector experience, which you're all going to learn about, because Autodesk is going to build connectors and some of you are going to build connectors. So you can you can get this data flowing to where you want to flow it. And initially, we actually have this Exchange data flowing from Revit into Exchange, into Power Automate, from Revit into Exchange, into Inventor. And you tell us, do you want it to go from Revit, or maybe it's AutoCAD, or maybe it's Fusion, and you want to flow that into some other system you have. Maybe it's Rhino, maybe it's SketchUp, maybe it's P6, Primavera. So initially based on Revit views, initially limited to Revit Cloud work sharing at the publish, just initially. This is what I call training wheels. Initially read-only, later write. Later, when I say later, talking first half of this year, a Revit connector, so you can define exactly what objects you want to move direct from Revit and that you want to have up on the cloud and constantly in synchronization between the BIM and the data on the cloud, which you are sharing with whoever you want to share it with. This says hands-on soon. We are hands-on with about 6 of our partners today. Private beta. We're going public beta in the next month or two. Maybe don't hold me to it. This is it's kind of a week by week thing, but it's coming. If this excites you, I say stand ready and maybe reserve a week, maybe 6 weeks from now, for you to kind of jump in and try it out. Especially if you're a heavy user of Revit and BIM 360 or the Autodesk Construction Cloud. Okay, so that was data, cloud information models, Exchange. And again, it's about all of you using desktops to create data, maintain data, but it's really valuable to the enterprise and bringing that important data to the enterprise so the enterprise can execute on, going to sound familiar, digital transformation. This digital transformation is all about moving data, flowing data. This is a bit of an eye chart. I did want to throw it out there. If you're watching this video, you can freeze the video because I do think all of you are going to need to think about how you access data today from various Autodesk technologies. Many of you, almost all of you, who've done desktop plugins to get at data, and it happens real fast. But you kind of need your own database to stick it in, and you got to have a desktop. And if you don't have a desktop, what are you going to do? Now, we have model derivatives. Those of you using Forge know all about that. It's pulling out a subset of the data. It's not real time. Now, for some things, it may be 10 seconds. For some things, it could be 10 minutes or 20 minutes, a big honking BIM model. But, we're making improvements, speeding it up. There's a cost involved because of the compute time it takes to take your model and decompose it into data. right? Design automation, just basically the desktop plugin, same mode as a desktop plugin, except the user doesn't need to have a desktop on their desk. But again, cost involved in that, and time. Now, BIM 360 and Autodesk Construction Cloud. If you hadn't heard about this, we just blogged about it. There's a model properties API, which takes advantage of some of what I said earlier about what's happening with SVF2 and Forge, the Forge viewer, which makes it, allows you to filter on model data up on the server in the same place as BIM 360 and the Autodesk Construction Cloud are. So big hunks of data doesn't need to move around. So filtering can be done on the server. So you much more rapidly can get the data you want. And better yet, it's got built-in version control. Show me the difference in data and visually in the viewer on what's changed between one version and another. Again, I've talked to you about Exchange, Q1. I hope it actually gets out there to all of you in public beta, maybe general availability before the end of Autodesk Q1, which is the end of April, but we'll see. Again, we've got people out there using it in private beta today, so this is absolutely coming. Again, initially it's limited to people who are working with Revit in a BIM 360 Autodesk Construction Cloud environment, but it will be expanding beyond that as we go through the year. And then the full cloud information model. I'm hoping to have some private beta by mid-year, by the summertime. And some of you may be showing off what you've used the cloud information model capability for when we get to Autodesk University late this year. But we will see. And again, hopefully in this as we get later in the year, we're going to get to not only read and share in a very controlled, secure way and extend with your own proprietary data, but also the ability to do some limited write to certain kinds of parameter property attribute data. Okay, so I'm going to jump in a little bit for the Autodesk Construction Cloud. I just want to let people know the Autodesk Construction Cloud now has an app gallery. Now, BIM 360 has had an app gallery for quite some time, but it's taken us a while to kind of get that together for the Autodesk Construction Cloud. There's about 60 applications today in the Autodesk Construction Cloud app gallery. And you can go there, you can browse certified apps, and those apps have access to your data and your data as you give them permission to, whether it's two-legged or whether it's three-legged, scoped to a specific user. Now, what else is going on? Integrating the Autodesk Construction Cloud with critical software systems, cloud storage, ERPs, project management, CRMs, e-signature, allowing you to create custom workflows. And this is with ACC Connect. Now, ACC Connect, if you're not familiar with it, is low code, and really it's kind of no code. It's based on, frankly, I can be open with you, white labeling Workato. And the beauty is Workato has several hundred connectors. So if the kind of data you need to flow between the Autodesk Construction Cloud, BIM 360, and some of the other systems you have is pretty straightforward, Connect can get you there with kind of no programming in sight. I will say it doesn't do everything. If we're talking about integration with like an ERP system, it's probably a bit more complex because you've probably, or your customer has customized the ERP system. So it's going to take a bit more tweaking than may be possible with Connect, and you'll have to go to the underlying Forge APIs. Now, the Forge APIs, we've had some really good progress. Q4, we had a cost API delivered. We have early access to issues, and early access means private beta. Just let you know, public preview is coming in Q1. It's really close. I thought it might be out before I recorded this video. It's not out yet, but we're getting close. What else? Photos, progress tracking, RFI file references. I know some of you, hey, Autodesk, for the Autodesk Construction Cloud, RFIs, where we have an API for BIM 360, we didn't get the RFIs for the Construction Cloud until late last year. But where's the file references? And we heard you loud and clear, and we're working on it, along with the sheet APIs. What else? Things we know you want. Administration, right? That's a big deal. Document approval workflows, forms. Finally getting issues out, not just in a public preview, but formally released, industrial strength, secure, scalable. Locations. I don't know how many construction companies I've talked to who's like, give me more for locations, right? RFI attachments, sheets export, submittals. So we understand what you want and we are absolutely working on it. Okay, another thing for those of you, and I hear this particularly from our largest customers, our most sophisticated customers, with BIM 360, Autodesk Construction Cloud, and frankly, Forge in general, if you're using Forge Data Management. We have two-legged OAuth, we have three-legged OAuth. Three-legged OAuth is scoped to a user, not really made for server to server. Two-legged OAuth is in effect giving a partner, someone else in your company, a third party, kind of administration capabilities. And that's pretty powerful stuff. We've heard loud and clear from customers. They want to be able to scope. They want to be able to limit an app's ability, or a server or several servers' ability to access certain data in their BIM 360 Autodesk Construction Cloud Hub. The solution to that, the industry standard solution, not some Autodesk made up thing, is secure service accounts. And we are absolutely working on that. If you're working today with Forge using two-legged, I encourage you to do research on secure service accounts. We are really going to clamp down on the ability to use two-legged OAuth in the future, because it is a bit too powerful. And once we get secure service accounts in place, that is really going to be the way forward for 99% of the people. I'm sure we'll still have some customer admins for various BIM 360, Autodesk Construction Cloud, and frankly, more than that, Autodesk Docs, Fusion, who will still want their two-legged OAuth, but we're really going to make sure that our customers have complete control over the access of information that happens, especially from third-party applications. We are all in here. I'm hoping we get this thing in place by mid-year, and we're pushing. For those of you using the Autodesk App Store, I do want you to recognize 2 months back, we did a major refresh and replumbing of the App Store. I hope you noticed, if you're trying to reach Autodesk customers, there is no better place to do it than the Autodesk App Store. The number of customers going to the App Store, the number of apps being installed via the App Store has never been higher. It's in the millions every year. And I tell people, don't feel like you got to do something big. Do something simple. Use the App Store to market test, to see what the customer's appetite is, to see what they want. And then, yes, you can use the App Store to really expand your footprint among a much larger group of Autodesk customers. Autodesk yesterday released our end of the year annual report, and Autodesk had an unbelievably good Q4. It really capped off a great year at Autodesk. And I'll tell you, one of the things I took home was the number of customers on subscription today at Autodesk is over 6 million, right? Over 6 million subscribers. And that really is the opportunity for you to expand your reach of your applications. Okay, I have a call to action. And again, before I say this, I'm going to make the point again, the importance of understanding the value of the design and make data on desktops and how to share that data with the rest of the enterprise. It's not moving off the desktop to the cloud. It's about the desktop and the cloud working together. So what's really new, again, what's coming is Forge Data, PIM, Product Information Modeling, working with Fusion, Exchange, which very shortly here we'll be working with BIM 360, Autodesk Construction Cloud, Revit models, and then, that's kind of our beachhead, which we will then expand on over the year. Do recognize Forge Data, Cloud Information Models. It's going to be a couple-year journey, We need your feedback. We need you to tell us, where is the most need? Where can we help you the most? What data should we get in those up on the cloud in this very easily synchronized, secure, controllable, fast way that'll help you the most? And with that, I want to let you know, COVID is finally getting to the point that we feel like we can make some plans to come see many of you face to face. Those of you who've been with us a while will remember when we would do these ADN Dev Days, where we would go to 15 cities around the world. We'd have conferences, we'd have face-to-face time, we'd get into deep technical detail. You'd get exposed to both decision makers and to engineers who really know how to make the products work. Well, we're going to try this again. The plan is to do it in June. We're going to do it across the U.S., Boston, Detroit, Denver, San Francisco. We're going to Europe, Munich, Gothenburg, Manchester. I think we're going to do Paris, a little unsure. Barcelona. There's a few other places that are maybes. Places like Sao Paulo in Brazil, we got some maybes. And frankly, that means it's an opportunity for you to tell us where we're not going. Well, how about India? I'm pretty sure we'll do Bangalore. But should we do Pune too? Maybe. And then places like Tokyo, Singapore. Do we do Sydney or Melbourne? Not really sure. And what about China? Shanghai, Beijing. I'll tell you, I actually didn't put Shanghai and Beijing on here because the COVID clampdown in China is pretty tight compared to the rest of the world. So it's I'm the most unsure. But I want you to know we want to come. We want to get FaceTime with you, but we need to do it in a way that you feel good about and that is safe. But there's been a lot of change. It's been 2 years. It's time. I've laid a lot on you. For those of you who haven't started thinking platform, again, frequently when I say platform, I mean Forge, but platform is more than Forge. Platform is the desktop products. It's the cloud products. Whether it's ShotGrid or BIM 360 ACC or Fusion or Autodesk Docs, and it's Forge, and it's the cloud-specific APIs that are part of Forge, like you see with BIM 360 and the Autodesk Construction Cloud and with Fusion, and what's coming with Forge Data and with Exchange. Okay, so I'm just encouraging you, get started, start small. Maybe come to one of our accelerators. We can hold your hand through your first simple hello world proof of concept with a model that your customers, your users can relate to. But we really want you to think big as we get beyond this kind of file-bound world to a digital transformation empowering world using all that great design and make data. And ask for our help. Don't be bashful. Don't feel that any question is too simple. Have a bit of courage. We absolutely want to help you. And for those of you who are into the platform deep already, I'm sure many of you heard from me, be a squeaky wheel, be demanding. Let us know what you want to do first. It absolutely drives the timing of our investments, the timing of our expansion of the capabilities of the Autodesk platform. And with that, thank you. And I encourage you to tune in and see some of the other videos for Dev Days, whether it's what's happening with desktops like AutoCAD, like Inventor, like Fusion, like Max and Maya. And I'm sure I'm leaving somebody out, Civil 3D. Did I say Revit? Attend those. And as well as what's happening with BIM 360, Autodesk Construction Cloud, and so on. And thank you for spending time. I appreciate all our time is valuable. And we're all probably a little getting tired of Zoom and video. So we're going to do our best again to come to you face to face, which I am personally very much enjoying, looking forward to spending quality time and my team spending quality time with you. Thank you.